Simon Mantell, one of Britain's top hockey players, picked up an injury that kept him out of London 2012. He's here talking to Ad Victor about his future career prospects.
Obviously, extremely disappointing. I mean, when you've been building up something for so long and it doesn't work out, it's obviously devastating. Having said that, I have to appreciate that that's what sport, that's the occupational hazard of us being sports people. We can get injured at any point, and I suppose we're lucky in a way that the injury didn't, finish my career, and I was only out for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months. And you have to look to the future, and I'm thinking about trying to keep going for Rio, push on for another 4 years, try and compete out there. But I think that there's no getting away from the fact that those couple of months were pretty tough. Watching from the stadium rather than being on the pitch. Having said that, it was great to still be able to experience the Olympics and experience the games in London. I think that it is dedication. I mean, that word is used a lot, but I think when it comes down to it, the dedication means that you sacrifice things that other people would take for granted. So, when other people are off having fun, you might have to be on the training field on Christmas Day. You might be out there doing a running session, and it's those sort of things that it's easy to say, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll make up for it next time. But I think the difference between people that make it in sport and possibly in business as well is the people that just get out and do it and don't worry about about what could happen, about what you're missing out on. You just do it, and I think that's it. And for me, that's what dedication is. I think you look back to school and you see people that were arguably more talented than myself or than other athletes, and they don't necessarily make it, and that's down to a mental thing, I think, and that dedication. I think that over the last year or so, I've really understood a bit more about how the skills that I've learnt on the hockey field do transfer into business. And I think it's reassuring for us to hear from people within business and people relatively high up, within companies, how important it is that the things like teamwork, the communication skills, the leadership skills, and also just general things like your timekeeping. I mean, for us, we have to make sure we're there, 15 minutes before a session, being diligent in with our warm-ups and what have you. And all those sorts of things, although you take it for granted that, everyone would be used to doing that, I think that when you've got that grounding in a sports environment, especially in a team sport where, whatever you do affects other people. So I think that, I've certainly been amazed and encouraged about how much, the actual skills which me and other sports people learn on the field can actually transfer to the business environment. I had a great internship before Christmas, 4 weeks. It was an incredible learning experience, really, for me. I mean, it's my first proper stint actually working. I mean, I graduated back in 2007 and have been full-time ever since. Competed in Beijing and then had 4 years preparing for London. So, I hadn't had that exposure to a business environment, and I think just going in there and getting a feel for different people's jobs, different roles, everything that goes with being part of that team in a business environment, just experiencing that was incredibly valuable. And of course, obviously, adding to my CV and getting some experience that hopefully might, lead to a full-time role. I think, one of the great things, for us certainly in our internship is that we were spending time with everyone from a low level to right up to sort of partner level within companies. So it was great that we have that access to people of that stature within a company. I think that, I suppose in a way, that the benefit we have of being sports people is that quite often we interact with sponsors and generally they're relatively high up within companies. So I think we're relatively used to it. So it's quite nice that we get to reinforce that and then experience that in a business environment rather than being the athlete brought along to meet someone within a company. So I think it's excellent exposure for us. And I think one of the things that you learn is that you learn to make the most of those contacts that you meet and trying to expand on that network of people that we do meet. Well, I suppose it's the all-round package that they offer. So you know, for me initially it was sorting my CV out and things like that, which, you know, I had a pretty bare bones of a CV, but it wasn't looking too great. And so, you know, going in and also help with things like interviews and things that although we're comfortable doing as athletes, it's not necessarily our domain. And so, you know, you don't necessarily know, you know, what's the done thing, what's not. So I think those two things have been key, and they were the initial things. And then, you know, you work through to actually being put in front of people and meeting people, and you know, ultimately for me it ended up in an internship, which was you know, the ideal scenario for me. Straight after Olympics, bit of downtime, bit of time to really focus on working. And so, you know, this period of the last sort of 3 or 4 months has been fantastic, and hoping to get a bit more experience in the workplace in the year, which is a little bit quieter after the Olympics. And then, of course, you know, I'm getting to the stage of my career where I want to keep going for another 3.5, 4 years. But at the same time, I want to progress my actual career. So, you know, being able to have some exposure to, you know, whether it's, you know, working half a week somewhere, then that sort of thing is what I'm sort of striving to in the lead up to Rio, and then obviously go full time, you know, a year, 18 months before. For me, it's been incredibly valuable, the experience. I think that I'm at the first step of it, and there's plenty more that I can do whilst I'm still competing, which is exciting for me, because that means that I can make the most of this next 3 years. And I think that one of the problems is that when you do work towards one goal, which is, you know, for us in Olympic sports, inevitably it's every 4 years, it's a 4-year cycle. You can be so engrossed in that, but I mean, I certainly believe that if you try and expand your knowledge and your mind in other ways off the field, then it might actually help you on the field. So, you know, I think that there's no getting away from the fact that professional sports people do spend, you know, a reasonable amount of time resting, and if you can make use of that time, you know, of course you still do need that downtime and rest time, but there's certainly time which you can dedicate to sort of, yeah, making the most of your time and making sure that you're not just out, you know, at the end of an Olympic cycle and just starting from there. That's incredibly important. You know, Steve coming from his rugby background, it means he knows what it was like for us as athletes, and I think that's really key. And also it's nice going into the office and hearing about cycles and little expeditions that people are going on. So it kind of, it's the sort of environment that I think that a lot of us, you know, relate to and feel like we want to be part of, and I think that's pretty crucial for us. There's no question that if you, I mean, some people want to just, you know, stay within their sport and coach, or possibly move into teaching and school area, and I think that's sort of a different route in a way, I suppose. But anyone that wanted to, you know, push a career, you know, possibly in the city or around the, you know, the business environment, I think that, you know, even if it's a case of going to find out whether that's what you want to do, and, you know, progress some other skills to get on the CV, and or even if it turns out something you don't want to do, at least that you've gained some knowledge from that experience, and you can move forward and make plans accordingly.